Okay, as I had predicted, you were not supposed to bank on Manchester United winning this match. It was actually going to be a draw or Wolves win, and this is exactly what happened. The only reason why Manchester United got away with a point in this match is the fact that the Wolves were actually in their 6th competitive match of the season and Manchester United in their 2nd. So fatigue played a role. If you noticed, Wolves was tired, especially in the first half. They had one half to go at it and they went with it with the change, the Adama Traore change. So the first thing you have to note is Wolves is now actually a better team than Manchester United in spite of United's riches, which is something you have to ask Ed Woodward and the Glazers. How does this happen? A team that comes from the Championship actually being better than a team with a brand such as Manchester United's. But it has not lost to Manchester United in 4 competitive matches with 2 wins and 2 draws for Wolves since the 2018 season. And if you notice, Noone always manages to pick back Manchester United after making a change. It seems like he's got some sort of respect for United and its brand, and if he actually manages to get over that, you'll notice that Wolves will beat Manchester United comfortably in the future. So these are the questions you need to ask Mr. Woodward. What's going on with the squad? In addition to the Wolves being better than Manchester United, you'll notice that Noone is actually a better coach than Ole Gunnar. I noticed that Manchester United is trying to use the 4-2-3-1 in a way that it cannot be used. I actually talked about this in the preview match to the Manchester United and Wolves match. You can actually check that out to see why I'm saying Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is tactically off with the use of his 4-2-3-1, and this is going to be a problem for Manchester United going into the season, because if you look at how much he was drilling or practicing the 4-2-3-1 during off-season, with 85 or 95% of the matches being played with the 4-2-3-1, you know Ole Gunnar Solskjaer intends to use this as his main strategy, yet the way he's deploying it is flawed. So just watch my previous video for insights on why I say that. Noone, on the other hand, actually was using the 3-5-2 in a way that it's supposed to be used to devastating effect. I always talked about in previous videos the fact that Ole Gunnar is not able to actually make changes that solve problems that arise within the match, and in this game it was no different. He had the problem of Adama Traore. He didn't actually solve that, and it led to the Wolves equalizer. He had the problem of our wingers. I talked about Luke Shaw as the first point in my last video, which is the preview video to the Wolves Manchester United match, and I told you that Wolves would go at Luke Shaw, and they did exactly that. And the crosses were leaking in, the through balls were leaking in from both wings, from Luke Shaw and from one Bissaka. Yes, Bissaka might have had 9 tackles, but it seems like Manchester United, when they're showing their highlights and they're making their tweets, they omit the fact that Bissaka also lets a lot of people through, and this leads to a lot of chances being created against Manchester United. Diogo Jota managed to actually pass him and make significant impacts down the flank that Bissaka was checking out, but that's a story for another day. So Noone is a better coach. He's using the 3-5-2 in the way that it's supposed to be used. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is not doing that for the 4-2-3-1. Noone also managed to switch things on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer didn't actually manage to do anything about the moves that Noone made in that match. If Manchester United wasn't all about brands and tradition, maybe a coach like Noone would actually be good for Manchester United. It's just that he has got too much respect for the brand and he manages to switch things off later. But how about if he just starts as an attacker? What will that come to? So in addition to Wolves being better than Manchester United, Noone is actually better. This is what we learned in the match between Manchester United and the Wolves. As was the case last season, is the case this season. It seems like referees are hell-bent on helping Manchester United win matches by throwing decisions their way in the most dubious and obvious circumstances. If you notice the penalty that Paul Pogba got, missing it was probably poetic justice. I mean, he actually dived just like James was diving earlier on, which got him a yellow card. How the referee did not notice that Paul Pogba dived is a question that I'm going to ask all of you. And VAR, what part did VAR play in this that actually gave Manchester United a chance to win the match? So this season, we're now tracking Manchester United has been favored by refs 100% of the time when you look at decisions that can actually flip the fortunes of a match. Last season when I was tracking, referees favored Manchester United 83.33% of the time, giving Manchester United some crucial points along the way. So if Manchester United had actually made the Champions League, it would have been thanks to the ref. I know people used to talk about Howard Webb a favorite Manchester United, and I was blind to that because I was a blind loyal fan. But now I'm a fan who has his eyes open, and I'm looking at things from a 360-degree angle. These are some of the things that you notice. So if Manchester United had gotten the 3 points, it would have been courtesy of the referee, and I don't think this is healthy. As I said last season, you don't want to be relying on third parties to win your matches. You should be able to put them away by yourself. Okay, on a slightly more positive note, it seems like this season the number of attacking actions that are being taken against Manchester United have reduced. It also maybe points to how Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is handling his business, which is a positive. Last season, we're averaging about 30 attacking actions against us per match. This time around, we're averaging around 20. We'll keep an eye on that. Just in case you haven't watched the video of mine, attacking actions are through balls, shots, free kicks, corner kicks, long throws, etc., which are attacking in nature that are actually executed against Manchester United. It gives you an idea of how much pressure the team is under and how much is controlling the match. So for the first two matches, you can safely say Manchester United is a bit more in control of things, which is a positive. Okay, so at this stage of the season, it seems like the best strategy that we have is attacking through the middle. That's where we have had most luck from. So that's probably Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's go-to idea at the moment. Whether or not he'll consider narrowing his attacking line from 4-2-3-1 to something maybe like a 4-1-4-1 or something like a 4-4-2 with the diamond is really up to him. But it seems like he does not have the wingers who can attack from the line or from the byline. We don't have that much creativity to penetrate, and we don't have people who can cross from far. I mean, Ivan Perez has just joined Bayern Munich. He's a specialist at that, and Manchester United basically ignored him. So my question to you is, do you see any other strategy that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can execute this season, or is it actually just going to be about him going through the middle, which will be sad because it will make Manchester United quite the predictable team? So what I can say in terms of positions that actually need addressing as a result of what I'm seeing in terms of the play is wingers. We need wingers who can cross the ball from out wide to take advantage of aerial attacks. I know right now we don't have anybody who's good in the air since Lukaku was sold, but we can always find someone who can do that for us. The attacking mode that we have that's working right now, it's one, and good teams like Manchester City have got more than one. They go the long ball, the long route. They actually can go through the middle. Like United, they can penetrate via the wings and cross in from the byline. They can also cross in from the fullbacks. They can also cross in from the wingers who cross from somewhere towards the touchline, or should I say the throw-in line? I don't know. So this will actually hinder Manchester United's chances over the season, and it's one of the reasons why I am confident enough to say the most Manchester United will get is fourth position. I mean, if you only got one way to attack, it means people can actually read your plays and read your game and be better prepared to stop you from doing anything. So I think what we need in terms of transfers right now, you have to look at the wings. You also have to look at the fullbacks. I mean, they are defending, or one Bissaka is defending to some extent. Luke Shaw is not, but they are not attacking. We need to look at that. Also, at the center of the pitch, you'll notice that we don't have people who can cover the fullbacks when they go forward. Paul Pogba and McTominay have not been able to do that. That's another area to look at. Martial so far, I think is doing fine. We'll leave him out for now. Rashford, yeah, he's doing okay, but it doesn't give us the other types of options that we need from our wingers, and Daniel James surely is not going to do that because he's also an inverted winger like everybody else. Lingard, as you know, is nowhere on the pitch right now. He's not really doing much. So in terms of transfers, it's awful to see the team in such a state after so much money has been spent, but this is the result that you get when you have someone like Ed Woodward leading Manchester United. He's an accountant. He does not have an idea of how business is run. As for the Glazers, they don't really care if Manchester United is performing on the pitch because actually they're all about the money. Somehow they make teams grow in value but not turn grow in stature when it comes to sport. If you look at the other team, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it has increased 10 times in value since they purchased it, but last year in its conference, it was actually in the bottom of the log in the NFL. I think at this point in time, it's time to bring in Matic. We need to play three in the middle with Matic helping to cover the center backs. The center backs are still heavily exposed. I'm going to show you some statistics about these guys in the Wolves match later on, but two in the middle is definitely not working. Pogba has to actually stay behind and not attack. I think Pogba is better utilized also going forward instead of always playing deep, because playing deep for Pogba works in certain situations but not in other situations. For example, in the Chelsea match, it was okay for Pogba to play deep alongside Bissaka to cover Bissaka's runs forward and to also help protect the center backs, even though he didn't do much of a good job of that. But the important thing is when he's deep, he's playing the role of covering Bissaka, covering the center backs, and also being able to launch the long balls to Rashford. He was able to do this because Chelsea left a lot of space behind its defense. Why did it leave a lot of space? Was it's an attacking team. So such a strategy of having Paul Pogba sitting deep will probably work against Arsenal, Chelsea, and the likes, teams who press high and who leave space. But for a team like Wolves who sits back, you need Paul Pogba going forward to attack, to open up those spaces, because Rashford is not going to get those spaces in behind the defense to run into. So having Pogba lying low every match is going to give us a net negative result, because most of the teams who come up against Manchester United will actually have the bus parked and Rashford becomes useless. And without Paul Pogba pushing forward to go and assist him, it means two men off the field not doing much for us. McTominay needs help covering that defense. He actually was the one who was playing a little bit forward for United, and I don't know why. Why would you have Paul Pogba playing behind McTominay instead of the other way around? But if you actually look at the heat maps for this match, McTominay was playing further forward and not really doing much for us, because going forward is not much of an attacking force. Defensively is not much of an attacking force. I think he has had a very bad start to the season. Let's hope that improves. But until then, I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer should consider playing a 4-3-3 and not a 4-3-3, since we don't have wingers already that can actually go to the byline and to the touchline. We can play narrow for now and see how that goes. It's important to see whether or not Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will be able to switch his tactics and switch his formations in line with what's going on the ground. I'm afraid he's shown in preseason that he wants to stick to one or two strategies, and I think this will be his downfall. Yes, I did mention this will be his downfall. I don't see him lasting another 2 years with us. He's just not good enough, unless maybe the politics work in his favor, with Ed Woodward afraid of being exposed for changing coaches too often. You know, if he changes another coach, I think the Glazers are going to start looking at him and wondering, hey, Ed Woodward, what's going on? How are you running this club? So my suggestion is we play a 4-3-3 with Matic and McTominay probably helping to cover, not Pogba covering and McTominay actually heading to the front of the field. Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Tottenham, and all those other teams who high press, let Pogba lie low or lay low and launch to Rashford. It's fine. But for the teams that actually park the bus, Pogba should be playing up ahead because he needs to help with penetration. Okay, so the weakest link at Manchester United right now is Lingard. He's busy running around the pitch, not really serving any purpose, yet he's our attacking midfielder who's supposed to be threading balls through, etc. Those who know Lingard know he's not good at anything else other than having a work rate, moving around and shooting. Yes, his shots are very good, especially from range. But with a team like Wolves who will be sitting back, it's not much use. So before we actually blame Lingard, let's see how Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is actually deploying him. I think he's deploying him incorrectly, right? If a player is not really good at anything, then use him as a weapon in another way. With Wolves, the idea was to actually attack its center of power or center of defense, or its central vulnerability, if you want to put it that way. Lingard was supposed to trouble Cody. As I said in the match preview, Cody is protected by Bolly, Bennett and Neves, right? And more importantly, Manchester United's route to goal, which is through the middle, only works if you unsettle Cody, because Cody is the sweeper Bennett and Bowley go through and do all the dirty work, and Cody cleans it up. Yes, we did manage to actually pass them once, but if Lingard was leaning on Cody the whole match, this would have activated that attack mode where Pogba can link up with Rashford or Martial with the high ball over the defense, because if Cody is busy following Rashford, Bolly and Bennett also get worried. Cody gets unsettled and probably removed from his position, and that opportunity opens up. This actually could have been the difference between Manchester United winning this match and drawing this match. Cody was allowed to control the defense as he usually does for most of the match, and as a result we got a draw. So this is an example of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's tactical immaturity, not thinking deep enough. Okay, fine, you want to play Lingard for whatever reason. I understand Mata would not have worked for this since Wolves is known to sit back in a 3-5-2, but you could have used Lingard to lean on Cody, unsettle him, thus unsettling the defense and opening up more attacking options for Manchester United. Bang, 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 simple. Game 1. To further support this point, if you look at Martial, he spent most of his time standing next to Rashford. That's the area he was patrolling. As a gunman, he was actually supposed to be in the area where Cody was operating. So imagine if Lingard was leaning on Cody, Cody wouldn't have been able to concentrate on Martial and push him out. So would have been the case for Bennett. So if you put Lingard against Cody, then Martial would have been a bit more free, and you would have seen most of his movements occurring in the area where he needs to be, because the fact that he was not standing there at the gunman's positions means that our attacks became more predictable as Wolves could see them coming, and this greatly affected our match. So Mr. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, by any chance if you see this video, use Lingard as a shield or something to just trouble that last line if you're playing against teams that sit back. So in a situation where teams are actually high pressing, yes, Lingard can roam around and be useless as usual, but if teams are sitting back, use Lingard as a weapon to attack the key man in defense and settle him, creating space for Rashford and Martial. So that's it, guys. That's the review of the match between Manchester United and Wolves. Manchester United are not looking good going into this season. They're already 4th on the log, and I predicted that they would not end up in a position higher than 4th. The game basically between Manchester United and the Wolves was the game of Adama Traore. That is the substitution that changed everything. If you look at most of Manchester United's defensive clearances, interceptions, etc, they all mostly occurred after the introduction of Adama, meaning that he flipped the game for Noone, and Noone showed his tactical class by actually switching the attack from both flanks to the left flank of Manchester United, where they knew Luke Shaw would be operating and would be a loophole. I mean, Bissaka did manage to make 9 clearances, and even though Jota did get past him, he was actually doing quite a good job, and Noone decided to concentrate on the flank that Manchester United were not really good on, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer could not react to that, and it ended up as a stalemate. So Manchester United fans, I think you can continue to shout Glazers out, and this season will actually give you more motivation to do so. So if you think that I'm doing well, just subscribe to the channel and click on the notification button so you can get the next video as it comes out. I'm planning to release videos even more frequently because there are a lot of topics to talk about around Manchester United, not just the previews and the reviews. I also have other issues that I touch on movies and series and general opinion. I'll also be moving into more interesting topics, so just subscribe to the channel, and here's some valuable insights. Cheers.